Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Asatari Sata, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Prem Chikuho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Gira Govardhan Ki, Maya Pradam Ki Jai, Vrindavandam Ki Jai, Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, ISKCON Philadelphia Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande,
Hari Bol.
devotees, all gloriously assembled devotees,
Hare
all
Krishna.
glorious devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Ranga, Hari Bol. Nam Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashuta Deshatarne Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Rayana Namaskrita Naram Chaiva Narottama Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Jatutayam Madhirayat Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. It's nice to see all of you in person and online. So let me just bring up today's verse and I can share that.
Tell me the verse number. I will try to pronounce.
Yes, it's we're doing third canto, chapter 13, verse 43. And I will share my screen so all of you online can also see it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, can you see it?
you can see.
Okay, beautiful. Krashrada hita yanad matva tvavo prabho.
Kahasradatitanyan tamastva prabho.
Rasham gataya bhuva uvi parahanam.
Tasam Gataya Bhuva Uddhi Parahanam.
Na vishmaya tvayi vishya vishmaye.
Na Vishmaya Sautrai Vishva Vishmaye.
Yo maya yedam sa srijet vishamayam.
Yamaya Yedam
Sasujeti
Sasujeti
Mayam.
Vishmayam.
Ka shraddha hitayan yatamastavo prabho.
Kasradati
Kahasradatitanyan
Prabhu.
Rasham gataya bhuva udvid paramhanam.
Kasam Gataya Bhuva Uddhi Parahanam.
Na vishmayo svatvayi vishva vishmaye.
Na Vishmaya Sautrai Vishva Vishmaye.
Yo maya yedam shastre ti vishmayam.
Yamaya
Yedam
Yedam
Sasujeti
Sajati
Vismayam.
Vishmayam.
Kashrada hitayan atmastavo prabho.
Kasradati Tani Tasmaya Prabhu.
Rasham gataya bhuva udviparhanam.
Rasam Gataya Bhuva Uddhi Parahanam.
Na vishmayo satvayi vishva vishmaye.
Na Vishmaya Sautrai Vishva Vishmaye.
Yo maya yedam sa shrije ti vishmayam.
Yamaya Yedam Sajati Vishmayam.
You ready?
Kahasraditanya tamastva prabho.
Ka shraddha hitayan yatmanastavo prabho.
Vasam gataya bhuva udvibahanam.
Rasham gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Navismayosho tvai visva vismaye.
Na vishmayosho tvayi vishva vishmaye.
Yo maya yedam sasrujeti vismayam.
Yo maya yadam sastri ti vishmayam. Yeah. Kashradari hitan yatman mastava prabhu. Prashtam gataya bhuva udvibaranam. Na vishmaya sa tove dvishmaya maye.
Yedam sarch today TV is my one.
Yo maya yedam sasrije ti vishmayam. That's okay. We'll just use our phones. Babu? Tetradi? Kashradahita yatma tamastavo prabho.
Rasam gataya bhuva udvibahanam.
Prabho. Na vishmaya sho tvayi dvishmay vishmaye. Yo maya ye dam sasrije ti vishmayam. Anyone else?
Shraddhaditan yatamastava prabho.
Ashrada hitaya yatma namastava prabhu.
Sham gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Rashtam gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Vishmayoso tvai vishvavismaye.
Na vishmaya so tvayi vishva vishmaye. Yo maya ye dam sasrije ti vishmayam. Anyone online?
Kasha
Krishna.
tha. Good.
Go ahead, Shima.
No, Mataji. Go.
Vidyavali, go ahead. Prabhu.
Kashaddha hitanya tamasa tava prabho.
Kashrada hita yatamastava prabho.
Rasam gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Rasham gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Na vismayo sau tvayi vishva vismaye.
Na vishmaya so tvayi vishva vishmaye.
Yo maya yedam sasre tvishvamayam.
Yo maya ye dam sasri jeti vishmayam. Shuman?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Kahashatitanyatmastva prabho.
Krashadhida yatamastava prabho.
Rasam gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Rasham gataya bhuva udvibarhanam.
Na vishmayo asau tvai vishva vishmaye.
Na vishmaya so tvayi vishva vishmaye.
Yo maya edam sasrije ati vishmayam.
Yo maya ye dam sasri jeti vishmayam. It's a good one. Anyone else? Okay, we'll do word for word. Ka. Who else?
Who else?
Shradita.
Shradita.
Can endeavor.
Can endeavor.
Anyatmaha.
Anyatmaha.
Anyone besides yourself.
Even besides yourself.
Tava.
Taha.
Your.
Your.
Prabho.
Prabhu.
O Lord.
O Lord.
Rasham.
Rasam.
In the water.
The water.
Gataya. While lying in.
Lying.
Bhuva.
Bhuva.
Of the earth.
Of the
Udvibarhanam.
Udvibarhana.
Deliverance.
Deliverance.
Na.
No.
Never.
Never.
Vishmaya.
Ismail.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Asho.
So.
Such an act.
Can act.
Tvayi.
Why?
Unto you. Vishva,
Vishnu,
universal,
universal,
Vishmaye,
Vishnu,
full of wonders, Yaha,
Yaha,
one who,
one,
Mayaya, by potencies,
by potencies,
Idam,
Ida,
this,
this,
Sastrije,
facility,
created,
created,
Ati Vishmayam,
Ati Vismaya,
surpassing all wonders.
surpassing all wonders.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from within the water? Is this not very wonderful for you? However, it is not very wonderful for you. However, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe, by your energy, you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. Purport. When a scientist discovers something impressive in the ignorant mass of people, the common man, without inquiry, accepts such a discovery as wonderful. But the intelligent man is not struck with wonder by such discoveries. He gives all credit to the person who created the wonderful brain of the scientist. A common man is also struck with wonder by the wonderful action of material nature, and he gives all credit to the cosmic manifestation. The learned Krishna-conscious person, however, knows well that behind the cosmic manifestation is the brain of Krishna, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Madhya yakshena prakriti suyate sakarachanam. Since Krishna can I just mute whoever that is? Okay. Okay. Since Krishna can direct the wonderful cosmic manifestation, it is not at all wonderful for him to assume the gigantic form of a boar and thus deliver the earth from the mire of the water. A devotee is therefore not astonished to see the wonderful boar because he knows that the Lord is able to act far more wonderfully by his potencies, which are inconceivable to the brain of even the most erudite scientist. Omegyana Tamaranjasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalatam Nina Tashme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svadbatantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktarenda Nama Om Vishnu Padam Krishna Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Charim Swamaniti Namane Snake Shita Sripanate Vadmanam Charles Plutum Prabhupada Gata Pranastam Namam Bhakti Charim Swaman. So I'm gonna just read the translation again, and then we'll get into some discussion. Who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from within the water? It is not very wonderful for you. However, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe, by your energy, you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. So just turning that off so I can see some of my notes here. So there's a couple of points in this that I wanted to talk about today. The one is that we know that Lord Varaha is being glorified by the sages. And this is not the first time we've seen sages doing glorification. But these are the sages headed by Lord Brahma. And so this glorification is from Lord Varaha coming as the boar and coming to bring the earth out of the water, out of the ocean. And so whenever the Lord is doing anything otherworldly, he's saving the devotees, killing the demons, rescuing the planet from the ocean. This is all being witnessed either directly or indirectly through the parampara. And because of this witnessing, this is in essence, this witnessing and then retelling is this glorification process. And these activities of the Lord, they're there, of course, to deliver the miscreant, or to deliver the devotees, to slay the miscreants, to reestablish religion. We know that from Bhagavad Gita, that's established. But when the Lord is doing such magnanimous tasks that are otherworldly, we can understand that that's also for our own increasing of faith, that these activities he's doing these to also display, who he is. He is the Supreme Lord. And so when these stories are retold over and over through the generations, coming down through the parampara, we know that in actuality, this is a retelling of the events, that this is the glorification process. And so I want to really dive into this process of glorification a little bit and talk about, welcome. Please have a seat. So we can go into this process of what is glorification. So Prabhupada referenced Bhagavad Gita 9:10. So I wanted to just take a minute to read that. It's the translation is, this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So what is being understood here is that that Supreme Lord, everything is under his direction. Not a blade of grass moves without the knowledge, without the effect of the Lord in some way. Now we've heard this, Krishna can be involved or aloof, right? He can be both. And so while everything is happening under his direction, he is also in, Loka Vrindavan, in Vaikuntha. So we can understand that he's here and there at the same time through the living entities. He's carrying things out through Paramatma, right? Every living entity has that soul and super soul. We have those activities. We have everything that is being governed under him through the laws of material nature. We have the modes of material nature. We have all of the things that in this material world are under his control. Maya is under the control of Krishna, which Maya controls the modes of material nature. Karma, these are the actions and the reactions of all of our actions. And these are all things that are also governed under Krishna. Is Krishna directly carrying these things out? No, but he's also overseeing everything. Now here in Lord Varaha, he's directly coming as a boar, and he's lifting the earth out of the ocean. So we can see that this is, in this instance, the Lord is coming himself and carrying out these very, very supreme activities. So in today's verse, what we're really seeing is how inconceivable, but yet the devotees, it seems seemingly inconceivable. Like, how could the Lord appear as a boar, come out of the nostril of Brahma as a tiny little thing, and then just suddenly turn into this gigantic, beyond imagination boar, dive down to the ocean, lift us up? How's that possible? Well, it's the Lord. We don't have to know how it's possible because our brains can't conceive of it anyway. We just have to have faith in that process and have faith in that pastime, in that incarnation of the Lord, and trust that it is so. And so we can focus on the inconceivable nature of the Lord and his activities, but we can have faith that this is how it is. We don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of how did this actually happen? What is the science behind that? How could the Lord actually go from this size to this size in a matter of seconds? Well, that's not for us to understand. It's for us to have faith in and to trust in. And there was a conversation between Prabhupada regarding the inconceivable nature of the Lord, between Prabhupada and Hamsadutta and Trivikram Prabhu Swami. And I just wanted to read a couple snippets from this, because I think it's Prabhupada, of course, anything he's sharing is katha in itself. So he says, unless we accept the inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning of God. If you think a person means like you or me, yes, like you or me, God is also a person. That is accepted in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, in the Katha Upanishads. There are many Chaitanas, living entities, and they are all eternal. There are many, plural number. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. But there is another Nitya Nityo Nityanam, two. One is singular number, one is plural number. What is the distinction? This is getting very... the distinction is eko yo bahunam vidati kamam. The singular number is particularly so powerful that he's supplying the necessities of all the plural numbers. So the one is supplying the many, is really what he's saying. There's the one, and then there's the division of the many. And in class 2 days ago, Acharya Prabhu was talking about Krishna being the supreme, but even any expansions of Krishna, even like Balaram. So Prabhupada's that the Krishna holds all of the supreme potency. It's like there's given the example in Bhagavad Gita, when you have the original candle, all of them are being lit off of that original candle. There's still only the original flame. Even though all of the other candles possess the same qualities, they're all, the original flame was still that one that lit all of the other candles. So it's to help understand that there's still that original source of everything that comes out. So, so this is just, I wanted to give that that understanding from Prabhupada about this inconceivable nature. He says that it's beyond your conception. So it's if there's a scar, if the nail is broken some other way, it will come out. But if you cannot manufacture it by conceiving it, what is coming out? So Prabhupada's saying, like, if you can't manufacture your own things, Krishna is doing it. You can't conceive of something and trust that it's just going to happen. But Krishna has his own potency, that anything he wills can occur. So this inconceivability and the inconceivable nature of the Lord is something that's really important for us to understand. And I wanted to read Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. His purport for today's verse is actually very short and very simple, and it's lovely. So I just wanted to read that because it talks very much about this glorification. And so he says, for this today's verse, we glorify your pastime, which is hard for others to understand. O Lord, other than you, who would desire to do this act of lifting up the earth? So he's saying right here, we glorify your pastimes, which is hard for others to understand. So those who do not have faith in the Lord, faith in God, they cannot understand these glorifications because to them they just seem nonsensical. They seem otherworldly. They seem beyond any conception. Maybe it's just made up. They're stories, they're parables. But no, those who are devotees who understand see this as it's inconceivable, but we glorify them because we understand it's coming from you. So we can conceive of it in the inconceivable by at least the understanding that this is coming from God. Even if I can't fully wrap my head around it, I can trust that this is in fact happening. Okay, so everyone following so far? Okay, good. So this was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So he was talking about this glorification of something that other people wouldn't want to do. And Prabhupada in today's purport, he talked about the scientist. And this was something a lot of scientists, there's a lot of scientists out there, but who wants to be sitting in a lab? Only the scientists are wanting to sit in a lab and dissecting down to the micromillimeter of something, really performing these very repetitive tasks of trying these different theories over and over and over again, sitting there. And when they do make a discovery, to be a scientist, you have to be really focused and you have to be very committed to that one theorem, that one thing that you're trying to prove or disprove. And you have to be very committed to that. And most people don't want to do that. Most people just want to kind of take advantage of whatever the scientists discover. And so when the scientists do make some big discovery, what happens? They get a Nobel Prize, they get books written about them, they get interviews, are very much revered for these discoveries. So people say, oh, I would never want to do that, but I don't understand what you're doing, but I appreciate the outcome, right? And so we can, that's a very mundane example. Prabhupada's giving that. And he's saying that, in the material energies, we take that reverence, we take that glorification, and we misapply it. We're misapplying it. We're applying it to the, people that, ultimately everything's coming from Krishna, even the brain, the intelligence, I am the intelligence of man. This is said in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 10th canto, that's I am the intelligence of man. Therefore, we know that even though we think, I'm so intelligent, I'm so artistic, I'm so this, I'm a great singer, la, la, la. But we know that I am the ability of man. Krishna's saying that. I am the intelligence, I am the ability of man. So anything that's coming out of us, that if we only just take it to be our own possession, our own greatness, then we are missing the supreme in all of this. So we want to just remember to be, the glorification always goes back to the top, always goes back to the supreme, because ultimately Krishna can take that away in a heartbeat. We think we're so smart. Well, Krishna, God forbid, could cause a stroke and suddenly we are, or have some brain damage. We think we're such a good singer, we could suddenly lose our voice. This can go so quickly. So when we remember that Krishna is the ability of man, he's the intelligence in us, that we have to ultimately roll the glorification up to the top not to the middle person that seems like the source. So so in modern day, like I said, we can misapply this glorification. And I wanted to kind of take the rest of this class and talk about some other places in Shastra where there's been a lot of glorification of the incarnations of the Lord. And Prahlad Maharaj speaks in the 7th canto, "O best of the great personalities, I am not all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities." So this is Prahlad Maharaj glorifying the Lord, because Prahlad Maharaj, we know, had the demon father Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill him, and Lord Nrsimha came to rescue him. But in all of this, as Hiranyakashipu was seeing he produced a devotee child in this demon culture that this child was born into. He produced a devotee. That's horrible. So this child comes out and he's glorifying the Lord. So in this glorification, Prahlad's saying this, there's no concerns. He's not afraid of anything. As long as he just continues to mentally, to absorb himself in the thoughts of the glories. So he's continually glorifying the Lord. And through that glorification, it frees us from those material entanglements. And so I wanted to go to, there's a bhajan. It's called Ramstata. It's the Ram Nam Stotram. So it's glorifications of Lord Ram. And I'll just read I'll read the translation, because this is another place in Shastra where we see these glorifications. And I think when we start to see how the Lord is being glorified in Shastra, we can also take that for our own practice as well, to see, okay, this is the process of glorification. So I'll read the translations from this. "Glory is to Sri Ram, who is the river of happiness, the auspicious one, who is as lustrous as the moon, to the everlasting one, the lotus-eyed one, the abode of Lakshmi, the king of the kings, and the most exalted of the Raghu dynasty. Glory is to Sri Ram, the beloved Janaki, the triumphant, the conqueror of his enemies, the refuge of the people, the beloved of sage Vishvamitra, the well-controlled one, and the one who is keen to protect those who take refuge in him. Glory to Sri Ram, the vanquisher of Bali, the eloquent, the one of truthful speech, the one who is valiant in defending truth, the one of truthful vows, the one who faithfully keeps his vows, and the one who always served by Hanuman. Glory to Sri Ram, the son of Kashulaya, the annihilator of the Kimankara, and the expert in destroying the demon Varada, the protector of Vibhashana, and the one who broke the mighty bow. Glory to Sri Ram, the one who permeates 7 planets of existence, the one who cut off Ravana's head, the one who shattered the pride of Purusham, and the slayer of Tataka. Glory to Sri Ram, the essence of Vedanta, the self of the Vedas, the healer of the disease of becoming, the one who cut off the head of Dushana, the embodied of the 3 qualitative forms of Sri Krishna, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who is the source of the 3 gunas. Glory to Sri Ram, the Lord as Vamana, the source of the 3 planetary systems, the one whose story is a source of merit, to those who sing it, the protector of the 3 world systems, the wielder of the bow, and the dweller of the Dandaka forest. Glory to Sri Ram, the remover of Ahila's curse, the worshipper of his father Dasaratha, the giver of boons. He is conqueror of the senses, conqueror of anger, the one who wins over friends, and the spiritual master of the world. Glory to Sri Ram, the Lord who organized the assembly of ape men and bears, the Lord who took refuge in Chitrakuta hill, and the Lord who blessed Jayanta, and the Lord who was served by Sumitra's son, Lakshman. Glory to Sri Ram, the Lord of all demigods, the Lord who revived the dead monkeys after the war, destroyer of the demon Maricha, who practiced illusion, the great Lord with mighty arms. So you can see in these, there's a few more, but you can see that this glorification, it goes on and on. It's talking about his qualities, all of the auspiciousness of his appearance. This is the process of glorification. And when we endeavor into glorification of the Lord, it's for our benefit, but the benefit of others as well, especially when we speak in Katha. So I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita 1876. And I want to wrap up kind of with this thought O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. And the Prabhupada says the understanding of Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with the topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous, and he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental position of spiritual life. So as we are glorifying and talking about the the benefits and the glories of Lord Varaha for today's verse, we're remembering also all of the amazing things that the Lord is able to do. But the participation in Krishna Katha is essential for our progress and for our ability to deepen our relationship with the Lord. So in our day-to-day lives, Jai, Borni Jai, Jai Jai Jagannath Jai, Jai Radhashada Bihari Jai. So in our daily lives, what does this look like? What does the glorification of the Lord look like? Well, it looks like this. This is kata, right? We are in class. We are here reading Shastra together. I'm just here to present what's already been said. So by me actually preparing for class, I am getting a lot of benefit because I get to go through a lot of Shastra to prepare. So it's definitely, and then to be able to share it with you is a great opportunity for all of us to be able to share in that kata. So while I am no expert in Shastra at all, but to be able to share this that's what we all want to be doing. We all have that opportunity, especially with devotees who are already understanding some of these topics, that we can just do something as simple as reading Bhagavad Gita, and especially reading it out loud in a group setting can be so auspicious because it brings about conversation. It brings about these deeper, more meaningful reflections. Because so often in life, we can get pulled into what's called prajalpa, right? Prajalpa is that kind of daily talk that's a little meaningless, just doesn't have any real value. And we can get pulled into prajalpa so easily. And it's so alluring too, right? Because our brains are so attracted to what's this? What's the gossip here? What's the word here? And it's just the nature of our brains because there's a little bit of like, oh, really? Okay. And so we want to do our best that when we hear these things to try and steer the conversation to something, a little bit higher level, or to just say, okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go over here now. But this is the struggle in the material world, that we have these opportunities to glorify the Lord through class, through reading Shastra together, but then we go out into the world and somehow we have to figure out how to maintain this. And that's where it becomes challenging, is how do we take what we get hopefully every morning, maybe we're listening to some sort of class. I know for me, when I'm not here at the temple giving class, I'm usually out walking my dog and I have my headphones on and I'm just cruising around listening to class. And but then I have to go to my office, go to work and do all the things that kind of pull me back into life. And so this is the challenge of material life. And it is given through Prabhupada's instructions that we do our best to try and take everything in our lives and do it for Krishna. And in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, we learn about karma yoga. And karma yoga is the process by which we can still carry out our activities in life, but we're doing it with the understanding that Krishna is the benefactor of all of that. All that we are doing is being done for Krishna, that we are thinking of Krishna. We're still carrying out our activities, but we're thinking of Krishna in the process, that we are surrendering those results to Krishna. And that's the best thing that we can do. So if we're constantly trying to at least think about Krishna in our day, and it doesn't take much, because how many other thoughts pop in our head that are just take a minute to just boop, show up there. And I was talking to someone the other day and they were complaining about a person and they were saying, oh, this person's living in my head rent free. They're taking up space. And I was like, yeah, that's happens. You know, we get so hooked on this situation or with this person, and they're hanging out in our brains and they're going off doing their life, and they're like living in our head and our thoughts rent free, creating disturbance in our mind. But how do we get Krishna to move in? You know, how do we kick out the bad tenants, right? We want to just kick out the bad tenants, and we want to leave space so Krishna can occupy our minds. But we have to first kick out the bad tenants, right? And that's a choice. So we can, in that process, when we recognize that there's something living in our brain that doesn't need to be there, that's a bad tenant, using up energy, you know, leaving trash laying around, that we can say, okay, we got to clean up your act here, get out. And then we can start just chanting. That's the best thing we can do, right? We have this tool that Srila Prabhupada gave us for free. He's given it freely to anyone that will listen. He's given us this Maha Mantra. So anytime we might feel something is creating a disturbance for us, we can think about the Lord. We can glorify. It's just like, oh, Krishna, you're in my heart. You are so magnanimous. You are so beautiful. You reside in Goloka Vrindavan, and in all of your beautiful lotus eyes, and your you know, the peacocks and the cowherd girls around you. Oh, beautiful Krishna, please reside in my heart. Please reside in my mind. We can glorify, we can chant. And so through this daily practice in Bhagavatam of glorification, we can take that and replicate it. We're giving these tools. So I'm going to take a break here and invite any questions or conversation or corrections. And thank you all for attending today and participating. Hare Krishna.
Sure. I wanted to talk about faith.
Faith.
And you can anticipate through faith that you'll have an understanding of what we're understanding. So we can anticipate. Now faith, we have faith because Prabhupada, he's telling us this. If maybe my children, they hear me talking, so probably he must know. So how do you get this faith? You can anticipate that this faith will come through the understanding of everything that's given to us here to understand. But the first tenet of the being of some Quaker roots, we're sitting quietly, nobody's talking for an hour. And what we're doing is anticipating that this understanding will enter into us. Because everybody in the room, in the Quaker meeting, we're all in silence and anticipating that we're gonna, that's one of the basic beliefs of
Yeah. Yeah. So the question here in the room was that in the temple was that how do we anticipate that faith is going to come? And he was giving the example in Quaker meeting that everyone is sitting there in silence, and that's the practice of the Quaker tradition, is to just come to meeting. There may be some opening remarks, and everyone sits in silence for a period of time, and they're all sitting anticipating God to kind of come into their hearts. And how do we trust that that's going to happen, and what is the process? So in our tradition, so yes, sitting in silence and anticipate, if everyone is kind of in the same room anticipating, that we can share that experience through kirtan as well. So one might say that kirtan could even bring that similar kind of anticipatory prayer. But we how do we build faith? How do we anticipate that, or trust in the process that faith will come? And I think it really comes down to just repetition and spending time with people that do have deep faith. And this is where association really does play a key role, because if we're spending time with people who don't have any deep faith, then where is our faith then going to be deepened? And then we're really on our own. And we might even get some not very good association from that good connection from the people around us if they don't have a deepened faith. So we want to have association with people that have an established faith. And we can tell people that have established faith because of their behavior. They have qualities, they're more peace. You know, they behave in a more equiposed manner. They speak about the Lord in a glorification kind of way. So we can tell that someone has faith because they're expressing it through their actions that they are firmly fixed, at least in that faith. So there's many other stages of devotion, but faith is the Shraddha is the first one. And so, but we know Shraddha, and then we know Sadhu Sangha, we have the Bhajana Kriya, we have all of these different phases that are part of that, but faith is the first, and without faith, we can't get to the other places. But in order for faith to be established, we have to do the process if we want it. That's the other thing. We have to want it. If we're kind of on the fence, then, that's going to also give us mixed results. And I wrote a blog the other day. I finished a blog that was like mixed desires, navigating mixed desires. Like, what do we do when we desire a relationship with God, but things over here in the material world are looking pretty fun still? And, how do we navigate that? So when we have mixed desires, we may have this intention of wanting to cultivate a relationship with God, but we're also still pretty enthralled with the material world. And so that's natural. But we take to the process, like I mentioned in chapter 3 through Karma Yoga, we take to the process. If we have an interest, so we have mixed desires, which means there is a desire here that is wanting to develop a relationship with God. And we've all heard this Native American story about the two wolves, right? There's the boy asking his grandfather, these two wolves are fighting. They're fighting, and then there's the white wolf and the black wolf or whatever. But the two wolves, one is representing kind of like the goodness in someone, and one's representing the darkness in someone. And the grandfather or the child asked the grandfather, "How will I know which wolf will win? How will I know which wolf will survive?" And he said, "The one you feed." So we want to, if we really have a desire to be in a relationship with God, then we want to feed that desire more. And the mixed desire, so we don't have to necessarily extract ourselves materially, but it's just like the law of energy, right? You can only have so much energy, spread out. So if you try just pulling energy away from something and you don't put it somewhere else, it's going to be very difficult. But if we naturally just start shifting energy over to activities that are moving us toward the relationship with God, then that will increase our desire, and it will also increase our faith. And so it doesn't have to be so much of a tug of war. And like I said, when our desire is increasing in our hearts, that desire, Krishna gives us through his mercy. He will give us that faith too. And that's the thing, that's the beauty. Krishna shows mercy in so many different ways. And when he shows his mercy, we may not even be expecting it. We may not even know it necessarily, but sometimes he may just show his mercy by a moment where we just feel we're around people, or we're at a festival, or we're in front of the deities praying. We just suddenly feel this like spark of love in our hearts. It just came out of nowhere. We might even feel overcome with emotion because it just caught us off guard. And the key is to recognize those moments and to say, Krishna, this is mercy. This is Krishna showing me a little bit of mercy to help me deepen my faith in him. And those little micro moments, collect them. It's like collecting little stones or seashells. We want to try and collect them and get as many as we can, because the more that we have, the more that we're then also feeding those desires to have a relationship with God. So I don't know if that answers your question. Is it? Okay. Any questions online? Any comments? Any thoughts? Anyone else? Yes.
I just like that you specifically say like how you glorify Krishna and like just talking about reading the pastimes is the glorification, making that very clear. So I'm not like, wondering, oh, I hear this glorification and like, how do I do this? But it's very clear and direct. This is like,
Yeah, thank you. So he was just saying kind of the reflection of how we read in the past times. That is a process of glorification. And also when we're reading them out loud, we are also sharing that glorification. And that's the thing, when the sages of Naimisharanya, the sages of Lord Brahma, they're glorifying the Lord. They're doing it for the spreading of those glories, and they're gaining so much benefit from it too. So it's two vessels that are filled at the same time, simultaneously through this process. So any other thoughts, questions? Okay, we'll end class here. It's getting late. So thank you all so much online. Have a wonderful day. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu.
Vasidabhyo cha patitanam
Patitanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
vaishnavebhyo.
namo namo.